Hi, everyone. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. This is Zoph, and I have a special co-host tonight. Jalecia at Northcliffe is back with me. She is just an awesome guest co-host, and I love it when she joins me because she asks really good questions, which is awesome. Thank you, Jalecia.
Oh, I try. Thanks, Soph. I love sitting in.
So Simply SCAdian, no title required is a show where we talk to non-peers in the SCA. During COVID, there were all these Zoom casts out there, and all of them were talking to Duke this, Duchess that, Master this, Mistress that. And I was like, yo, what about the regular folk in the SCA? Because there's a lot more of them than the peers. And so Lucas and I got together and decided to start Simply SCAdian, no title required. So none of our guests, we have had one guest who was a court baroness, but that is about it. And everybody else is not. Everybody else is Lord, Lady, Honorable Lord, Honorable Lady, and so on. But no peers, no landed or court baron or baronesses either. Nobody is allowed to be on the show that is not just a regular person like you and me in the SCA. So I'm going to let Jalecia take over now and introduce our special guest while I go do my geek girl stuff and make sure we're running perfectly fine. Take it away, Jalecia.
Okay, today we have Lady Muirenn Ingen Meic McRath?
McGrath.
McGrath. Okay, great. And this is in the first person, so when I say I, it's really Muirenn. I'm sure you guys can make the translation. Okay. I discovered the SCA in 2019 and was thrilled there was a medieval group near me. These days, you'll find me on the archery range or rapier field, primarily in Artemisia. The more I learned, the more I wanted to try. I have served my community as exchequer in Montagnard in Avocal for 2 years, and I'm currently serving in Antimesia, helping with events and retinue. I am a musician in mundane life, so I wanted to contribute to the bardic community. Oboe is not a camping instrument, so I am learning recorder, but I also sing and I'm learning some dances. I have made my own arrows, though I haven't tried period fletching yet. I started to dabble in sewing, and I'm starting to make my own outfits. This led to an interest in blackwork embroidery and other clothing embellishments. I also want to try more of the scribal arts, but I only have so much time. I think we can all see that. Yes, uh,
Right?
feel the same. Um, the SCA has introduced me to at least a half a dozen hobbies that I'm currently enjoying exploring, though I still have a lot to learn.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you here today.
Great. All right, so let's start off with the first question we ask everybody. How did you find the SCA?
Well, I can blame it on my friend Kim. In I think it was 2019, though it might have been 2018. We went to the Calgary Comic Expo, and our SCA group was doing a demo there. We didn't know anything about them yet, but the way we actually found them was kind of funny. She and I were both in cosplay as characters from one of our favorite games, Fire Emblem. It's a turn-based role-playing strategy out of Japan that's loosely set in medievalish times. And so I had made a staff out of a cardboard paper tube and a balloon. And so as I popped into the washroom, I had handed Kim my staff. And so when I was in there, apparently this bear of a man just walks up to her and goes, "Can you hit anyone with that?" And she kind of reaches up and goes, "Boop, no, sir." It's a balloon. But he invited us to the chat that they were going to shortly have called Hitting Your Friends with Sticks. And it was the end of the day. We were tired, so I was like, sure, let's go in and see what this is about. And so they had a panel of people that went through all the different aspects of the SCA. Afterwards, one of the panelists put a sword in my friend Kim's hand, and I had a really good conversation with another fellow about sewing because he'd made his own outfit, and it was wonderful. And then we followed them outside to where they were doing a live demo of the rapier and the rattan fighting. And since we were recognizable in our cosplay, this other fellow came and he put a rapier in my hand, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. So we both went out to fight practice that week, and then it was a bonus when we found out that they had archery too. So it's like, cool. I've always had an interest in kind of this kind of stuff, mostly stemming from more fantasy novels. But when I actually found out, hey, there's a group in my area that does this, it's like, yeah, let's try it. And so I got hooked mostly on archery, but then on all the other things. And I do really enjoy the historical aspect, though I'm just starting to dip my toe into the actual research side of things.
That's awesome. So how long have you been in the SCA?
It's been about 6 years now, but of course, COVID in the middle of that slowed everything down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to plunge in and ask about sewing. You said that you were interested in sewing. Did you know how to sew before you joined the SCA, or did you have to learn from scratch?
I had dabbled a teeny bit when I was younger with my mom. She had a sewing machine and she did do some sewing, so I'd kind of learned the basics of it. Um, but I definitely was not a skilled seamstress. So it's been a lot of learning, a lot of experimenting, and sometimes turning things inside out because I just sewed the sleeve on inside out.
Hey, we have all done that. We have
Oh,
all.
yes.
I call those early efforts. Sometimes I look at things and like, oh my gosh, did I really wear that in public? Can you tell us about some of the things you have made? Did you make the outfit you're wearing now?
I did not. This, I was lucky enough. One of the people in my community was destashing, and I went, oh, that's beautiful. I want to dress like that. I'll get it. And if I have to alter it, that's fine. And then it fit. So that was a
Great.
bonus because now I have most of a pattern that I can make more of.
Nice.
um, but my first attempt at sewing was for an early Irish persona. My name is based on about 9th or 10th century Irish. And so it was just a very simple sheath dress in pink. I will take too long to grab a picture of it, but just straightforward, fairly square, long sleeved. It was pink with a little bit of trim at the collar. I ended up sewing the gussets on the sides too narrow, so then I had to cut it open and add some more fabric so I could fit into it.
We've all done that too.
Yeah. So as a first experiment, it turned out wearable, but as I'm learning more, I will probably take some parts off and add some extra fabric here and there and just make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I also just made a plain blue skirt. I thought I was being clever when I was piecing the triangles together, but instead that just means my hem did this.
Well, you did it like dip down where the gore is? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
That happens. You just trim that off. Just trim it off and keep going and just, yeah, you're fine. That's
And so
showing physics. It just does that.
yeah, the problem, it was going to be too short. So I do have plans to trim it properly and then add some more colors because I am doing a couple more German persona outfits. So the is it called barding? The
Yeah.
horizontal strips at the bottom of the skirt. I can just add a couple of those on that one and it'll be perfect.
Cool.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says in your bio that you got into embroidery and black work.
Yep.
So what got you into that?
I have always just really liked the look of embroidery, and it's like, well, now I actually have a reason to do it. I wasn't ever the cross stitcher that would just sit down and do something because it was a pretty picture. In fact, I found out that I don't have the patience for cross stitch on its own. But black work with trying to make it reversible and all the complex geometric patterns, I really liked counting over and under threads and having to keep track of where am I and what path do I need to take to double back on it only once so it's reversible. And it just kept me engaged in a way that cross stitch wouldn't have.
Great. What have you made out of black work so far?
That one I do actually have a picture I can bring right up on my phone, even if it's going to be tiny. So these are cuffs I made for my partner.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh, that's beautiful.
That's
Wow.
He's
awesome.
he's part of the Black Tigers, and so I designed the pattern too. The crosses are alternating swords and arrows for rapier fighting and archery.
What
Oh
are
my
the black
gosh.
tigers? And what kingdom are the black tigers out of?
They're SCA wide. They're a war band, and who generally subscribe to the teachings of Robert Childs. At the moment, I believe he's the number one HEMA rapier fighter in the world right now. So he's come up with his own system of teaching that takes all. I believe the way he describes it is he's taken all of the best parts of historical things and kind of um, synthesized it into his own methods.
Okay.
So it's not historical. It is a modern system, but it's taken a lot of inspiration from everything that worked that came before.
Yeah. Is he teaching you?
Not directly. I am a black tiger. I'm one of his students, though I'm not officially ranked. So I'm learning the system and having a lot of fun with it, actually. It's been very, very informative, just the methods he goes through and the way he teaches rapier. It's been helpful for me to be able to think about what he teaches.
Because
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask. Do you do rapier or archery? Because you mentioned both of them
Yeah.
excited me before.
Just before we go away from the sewing, this is the shirt that I put the cuffs on.
Wow, that's
Beautiful.
nice.
Yeah. Now you designed the black work pattern yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really nice.
That
Yeah.
is nice.
Blackwork's so geometric. I do have a rather mathematical brain, so the geometric stuff really appealed to me. The other thing I made that I have a picture of is in Artemisia, the barony of Stanworm. Henry ended up becoming their defender, and he's like, Muirenn, can you make me something to pass on to the next defender after I'm finished? So at that event, there was a little bit of a in joke. You had to roll for your weapon choice, and he kept rolling cloak, and he already hated cloak, but he rolled cloak once, okay, and went and fought with it. Rolled it, got cloak again, fought with it, and I think he actually got it 3 times in a row before he got something else. So because of that, for the defendership, I decided to make him a cloak.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice. Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I recently invested in an embroidery machine. So this is not hand stitched, it's on the embroidery machine.
Wonderful.
Is Stanworm's heraldry. And it all turned out quite nice.
Nice.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. That looks
Great.
great.
So now they have something that they can pass off year after year to their champion. So
All right.
That's
So now we can go back to my question.
yeah.
Rapier versus archery.
So archery is my love. Rapier is the thing I enjoy but have to work at to be good at it.
okay.
Uh,
But you were already good at archery?
Archery has come very easily to me.
Okay.
Um, for my royal rounds, I think it was last year, though it might have been the year before, I reached my master bow. Yeah, master bowman. I got a royal round score above 80,
Wonderful.
and
Wonderful.
so that's generally fairly significant. So I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
Um, I had to take a little bit of time off, kind of the last year and a half till 6 months ago, because unfortunately my mother was ill.
Yeah.
So that definitely affected what I could do in the SCA, but I'm glad I was able to be there for her.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's the
When
important thing. Yeah, yeah. Now, you might be too new in the SCA for this question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. It occurs to me that you've been involved with two groups that have, well, Rapier just got a peerage, what, 5, 6 years ago?
Hmm.
So is that about right? And now it looks like archery and throwing weapons is going to have a peerage. Did you see a change in the rapier community? And do you have any thoughts about archery and throwing weapons possibly getting a peerage in the future?
Um, you're right. I was a little bit too new in the SCA to see any change in the community for when the peerage started. Um, the Masters of Defense were already in force, and so I didn't really know anything about the white scarfs and such previously. So I can't really comment on any change in the community after that.
Hmm.
Um, but I am excited about the potential for an archery peerage.
Okay.
I think, and thrown weapons and all that in general. I do think it will definitely fill a gap in the SCA. Um, One of the things I really like about archery that applies to thrown weapons and some of the other things is it's a little bit different than the martial peerages because you're competing against others, but at the end of the day, you're competing against yourself.
Right. Yeah.
It's you against the target and trying to be better every time you go out and bring your best. But there's not the complicating factor of having an opponent who's making their own moves and forcing you to do things.
Hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people that appeals to because everything is in their control for the effort they put in helps them to improve.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I do a little bit of archery. I'm not nearly as good as you are. And I've always enjoyed it. Oh, at least here, it's always been a very friendly community and very welcoming and encouraging to new people. And I hope we don't lose that.
I think that's very important. And it's again just one of those things where a new person comes in and it's like, oh, I like this thing. And if I work hard at it, I can become a peer,
Yeah.
right? There was a little bit of a hole in that archery thrown weapons siege, that kind of thing, because some people really get enthusiastic about that. And then it goes, well, there's not that it always matters, but it's, well, there's no cookie for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could put all these years in and not get that level of recognition.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and then the peerages try to find a way to shoehorn them in. The laurels are constantly, it seems like, in the mid-realm looking at rapier to laurel them for their historical, right, for the
Okay.
longest time for historical research is what, most fencers who seem to get elevated by laurels for historical work. So it's a little different from being recognized for your research versus being recognized for your kick buttness on the field
Right.
and your PLQs.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
Mhm.
Okay, so in your bio, you mentioned that you are a musician in the modern world as well as now in the SCA. So what got you into, how did you start? I know I'm just my own personal story. I started on the Hammond chord organ when I was 6 years old. So that
Uh,
was my intro to music. I couldn't play it to save my life now, but tell us what got you started in music.
uh, well, it was my parents. They started me very, very early. Like I don't actually remember a time when I did not know or understand music.
Mhm.
I think when I was 3 or 4, there was a program called Kadai, and it was just coloring pages and singing songs and clapping to rhythms, and they'd start to introduce you to some of the notation, like quarter notes and eighth notes, and just melody and listening to things. And so that evolved into piano lessons when I started grade 3. But we'd always had singing and music in the house. Um, and then I did take vocal lessons for a couple years in high school, but I was mostly focusing on piano and band at that point. I started to play the oboe in grade 8 after I'd played the clarinet for a year. And the oboe I've just kept up with. And so mundanely, I actually now teach clinics. Teachers will call me up and say, we have a student, can you come in and give them a lesson and help them improve? And so I just pop into different schools and band camps with that.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow,
so
that's really cool. Yeah, yeah. I was telling Muirenn before we started that I'm a musician too, and I started with flute, which is, similar to oboe, and now we both play recorder. So,
hmm,
yeah, could you talk about, you said in your intro that oboe is not a camping instrument. Did you mean the piercing sound or that you don't want to take your oboe where it's 90 degrees and raining and humid? Camp.
this the second one.
Okay.
So my oboe is a good instrument, and so it's made of wood. Oboe actually has a lot of metal and different springs and keys.
Yeah.
And so if you're taking it to different humidity, different temperatures, it can crack.
Hmm.
And so just it would not play well with dirt. It would not play well with damp. Um, I have taken it to a couple indoor events closer to me that have kind of been day events, pop in, pop out, and played it actually for our dancers. There
Oh,
was a
okay.
small ensemble of us that performed while other people danced,
Yeah.
and that
And
was
I
a lot
think
of fun.
Oh, yeah. And I think we should tell people the oboe is actually a period instrument. It was called a hautboy, I think. It was called
Yes,
something different, but I think there's a through line that gets you to oboe.
there is.
Yeah.
I think I think it might be French, so hautbois maybe, but
Okay.
I don't take my word on that. I'm not sure on that.
No,
Um,
I butcher French, so I'm sure you're right.
and then I'm not sure that takes us quite into period. What I do know is there's a precursor to oboe called the shawm.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And
Right.
so that is also a double reed instrument
Right.
and similar in some ways. But oboe, of course, in modern day gained a lot more keys.
Mm.
Um,
Well, so did the flute.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like being an instrumentalist in your kingdom? Do you guys have a lot of ensembles? Do you play mostly for dance? What's it like?
Um, I haven't gotten super involved yet, but I have found that there definitely are ensembles that are willing to play with people. When I was visiting down in Antir, actually at Border War, there was a group that had a little bit of a project for the step down of the Baroness there. And so I brought my recorder along and just, they had been rehearsing and I just popped in for one rehearsal and then we played at the event. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, I think in my local community we tried to get an instrumental group going, but I'm not sure where that's gone. I haven't been in touch with that part recently. Um, so that's something that I still need to explore more when I have some time, is some more opportunities to play and perform with others.
I think you need to start a group. We're going to talk. All right.
We'll see.
All right.
Jaleesa's kind of pushy about this stuff.
I
Just
am. What can I say? It's
um so what is it? So now you play music, you play an instrument, well, many instruments, you sing and you dance. So is that your real niche in the SCA, or are you having still 6 years in, so you're still a new person? So are you
Well,
still having a
yeah.
ton of fun discovering everything?
I'm having a lot of ton discovering. If I were to say I found a niche, I'd actually say it's archery. At a lot of the events, I will spend a huge proportion of my time at the archery field if I get a chance. Um, like I went to Ursulmus um, just in January, and that's a 14-hour drive for Henry and I.
Well, out
We
there in Artemisia, drive all over the world. I went, oh my gosh, I went out there for an event because my friend was being elevated to Pelican. And I flew out to them, stayed with Ronan and Claire, and then we all drove all the way to the event and all the way, and they'll post all the time about how they drive 10 hours to an event in Artemisia. Like we don't really do that in the mid-row.
No, no. I mean, the mid-Rome is big, but yeah. In fact, that's one thing I wanted to ask you. First of all, can you just orient us as to what states you mundanely are in it? And then also, how does that affect your culture out there that you have to drive so far to get to events? Because a lot of people here will say, I don't go to anything over 3 hours, or I don't go to anything over 4 hours, and you can still be fairly active within that confined, but that's probably not true where you are.
Uh, yes and no. I'm a little bit of a special scenario. Um, Technically, my home is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is in Avicall. But I've found a really great group of people down in Artemisia that we just love hanging out with. And so Henry and I choose to drive to some of these events that are often 4 to 7 hours away. So we're mostly playing in Artemisia these days just because we enjoy that group so much. Um, Artemisia is Montana, Idaho, and I think Utah. And so it's also a very large geographic area. People do drive, that 4 to 7 hours for an event sometimes. But the general rule that Henry and I have is we will not drive longer than the event itself.
Yeah,
Good
that's a
rule
good
of
rule
thumb.
of thumb. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's a 7 hour drive, we're not going to go to that 1 day event.
Mm.
Um, Ursulmus is just on that cusp, but we also were able to extend it and stay an extra day and do other stuff in Seattle on Monday. So we just made a little bit of a trip of it.
Yeah.
Plus, Ursulmus is just such a good chance to fight so many good rapier, and there were also a lot of exceptional archers out there. So it was just a great event.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ursulmus is in Seattle, was in Seattle, Washington.
Uh, just a little bit north in Monroe. It's a small town called Monroe, Washington. Yeah.
So
Okay.
And
that's
so
not
that's Antier.
Artemisia. What kingdom is that?
That's Antier, I
Okay,
think. Yeah.
I'll pull it up. Keep talking.
So are most events in your area, the two kingdoms that you play in, are most events 2 days?
Um, a lot in Avicall are. In Artemisia, it's very mixed. They do have a lot of just 1 day events. But
Yeah.
we're seeing if we can change that a little bit because I'm helping to run an event in September. And it's going to be in St. Regis, Montana. And time for a shameless plug. Everyone come out to Archer's Dream. It'll be September 25th to 28th, and it is an event that celebrates all things that fly. We're going to have archery, thrown weapons, combat archery. There's going to be a clout shoot, so shooting 100 to 200 yards plus, a night shoot, kid shoots, novelty shoots. We're hoping to maybe have siege ensigns if we can arrange it. There's an ambassador shoot that's specifically for anyone that's not from the barony, and so you can take home a little bit of bling if you're from outside of our barony. There'll be games, there'll be a onesie party on the Saturday, there'll be bardic. It's going to be a blast, and we've tried to make it a little bit longer an event so you can really just immerse yourself and enjoy.
And that's
Wow,
the end of
that sounds
September, you
wonderful.
said?
Hmm?
The end of September, you said?
End of September, September 25th to 28th in
Road
St.
trip.
Regis, Montana.
Road trip. That's only
Yeah,
like 20 hours. Come on, we can do it, Jalicia.
we could get cheap airfare if we look now.
True.
Yeah,
Right?
that sounds really, really cool. Are you the event coordinator, the top person putting it on?
For this year, myself and Henry are event coordinators. We both were kind of assistant coordinators last year. Duncan and Keeley were the leads, but they recently stepped up as Baron and Baroness of Sentinel's Keep. So we said, we'll help you out and we'll step up for this year.
Muirenn, I feel like you're my new best friend because I love running events too.
Well, it's a little bit of a new thing for me. Henry has some experience with it, so I'm taking his lead a little, but I'm willing to throw myself into whatever they need from me. So,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a wonderful event, but it sounds like it has a lot of moving parts. What's the most challenging thing for you guys putting on this event? Is it finding the venue or
Um,
what is the?
we're fairly lucky because we've had a venue, the same venue we were able to use last year. It's just a nice farmer's field. It's got good trees for shade, and we bring in water and porta potties and all that. Um, right now, one of the main challenges is actually finding enough time in the schedule to do everything that we want to do
Mhm.
Right.
because we've got so many ideas. Now, all of this is slightly tentative. We still need to finish the official event bid paperwork, but we're going to make it happen. It just hasn't been published in the Sage yet.
All right. Well, good luck.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
Is
Mm-hmm.
this your first time running an event?
Yeah, like I helped a significant amount last year. I just wasn't the one with my name on all the papers.
Right. It's a little different when your name is on all the papers, right, Jalecia?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, so you are correct. Washington State is on tier. And I don't know why in my brain I had on tier more centrally located, so I need to spend some time going over the SCA map, I guess.
Yeah, I need to learn my kingdoms.
Well, out by you guys, I have to say I don't know my geography yet. I know Avicall, Artemisian, and Tyr, and then I've been down to Kait. I went down to Great Western War in 2023,
Nice.
and that was a really fun event and the biggest event I've been to. I think it was 2,000 people that year. So,
Wow.
mhm.
So you haven't come to Pensick yet. We just need to get you out to Pensick.
No, I have not come to Penzic yet. Um, my friend Timothy of Sherwood, who you've also had on your
Yes,
show, is trying to get me to come out to Penzic.
you'll love
But
it. It's
Yeah.
it's
it's not in the cards yet, but it's in the back of my mind.
okay.
Yeah. 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 Has a huge archery field. You would love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's there's nothing like Pensick. And I've
Yeah.
been to other wars. Like Gulf Wars is awesome, but it's more chill, right? But Pensick is just there's so much to do. It's so overwhelming and you have almost 10,000 people on site, so it's just yeah. All right. Anyway, I don't have to keep trying to talk you into it. So let's talk Bardic.
Oh, yes.
You're also a singer. Do you write and perform your own pieces, or do you perform period pieces or filks, or what do you do?
A little bit of both. I have. I'm grateful that I have access to a couple Bardic books that when I got started in the SCA, people pointed me in their direction. Um, my friend Lady Althea here in Montengard, Tambori, I think her last name is. She is a fantastic bard, and so she taught me a few songs. I They weren't originals of hers, but they weren't filks either. So they were in. They feel like well enough that they fit in the SCA, but they weren't period either. Some of them. So one of my favorites of hers that she taught me is called The Last Watchman, and that one is really a story. Um, but I don't have it all memorized anymore, so I won't sing it for you here.
Well, you'd be welcome to. We've had people say, we had one guest pull out PowerPoint. I ended up letting him share his screen and we got a mini lecture. So whatever makes you happy, we can make it happen here.
Fair enough. I'm not warmed up to sing today, though, so I don't think I will today.
Okay.
But I am interested in learning some more period songs. There's one or two that I've kind of learned, but not quite
Oh, no.
had a chance to perform yet. The bardic side of things really is something that I'm still expanding into.
You're just
So
exploring
I've got enough. Yeah, I've got enough things that when I'm at a bardic circle, I can sing something. But I don't really feel like I have my own repertoire yet.
Right.
Although I am hoping to compose a song for Archer's Stream so that everyone can sing it together and we can have a couple group songs.
That would be awesome.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you share that with us when you finish it? I'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll be sure to post it on our Archer's Dream Facebook page once that's up and running, because we want
Okay.
everyone to be able to have a chance to learn it before the event.
All
So
right.
probably about 3 months before the event, we'll start dropping a couple songs.
Great idea. Great idea. Yeah,
So
yeah.
one of the things you mentioned in your bio is that you help out with retinue. We call it something different. In the mid-realm, we call it retaining. So
Mhm.
retinue is serving as a retainer for the king and queen and prince and princess, or is that working for your local baron and baroness?
In my instance, it's for local baron and baroness. But I think the term in general does apply to king and queen here as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how'd you get involved in doing that?
Well, we met Duncan and Keely through archery and had a great time at Archer's Dream. So when they were talking about stepping up, they were like, "Hey, do you and Henry want to help us out once you're Baron and Baroness?" So um, I ended up, let's see, I ended up getting on the embroidery machine and making some belt pouches. So D and K for Duncan and Keely, and then the heron is for Sentinel's Keep, because part of their heraldry is a heron. And it's a bag. So the flap opens and you've got a pouch.
Neat.
Wow. That's such a
So
great idea.
so I made a baker's dozen of these for everyone that they wanted on their retinue.
Wonderful. Now, what kind of things do you do as part of the retinue?
Um, you make sure that the Baron and Baroness stay properly fed and hydrated. And you help them keep on schedule. So if they're having a in-depth conversation with someone, but you need to get somewhere, you might step in and say, "Excuse me, we need to keep moving," so that they can have a stopping point to keep on getting where they need to be. Um, you also can serve in court and help with the passing out of awards and certain things that aren't being handled by their champions. But mostly it's just being their right-hand man and making sure that they're taken care of during an event.
Okay.
How long do baron and baronesses reign in your kingdom, in Artemisia, excuse me?
Oh, off the top of my head, I think it's now I'd need to double check this, but I think it starts off as a 2-year term with an option to extend it another 2 years.
Okay. Because in the mid realm it seems to be 5, but there's been talk about moving it down to 3, but I haven't seen any action on that. So it's
Yeah, I thought it was 3 to 5, but most people I think take it to 5.
take it to 5. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd need to double check the rules. I think it's between 2 and 6 years. I'm not sure if they can renew twice or not.
Right. So do you and Henry have interest in running for something like that yourselves?
No.
That's smart.
I'm happy to run events, but I don't want to be a person on the throne. I will happily just be the little gremlin working in the background and making things happen.
Okay. All right. Do you have to go to a lot of events with them as part of their retinue?
Yeah, we're trying our best. In our instance, there was an understanding that because we're a little bit further away, we won't be able to come to as many events. But we're trying to come to as many as possible. But that's why they have a team, so that they always have someone going to an event with them.
Nice. All right, so let's ask the last question.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Can I ask
Cynthia
the
has
next to
another one.
last
Go
question?
ahead.
Okay, all right, because I was kind of weighing on this. Muirenn, you're just such a fantastic person. You're kind of person that the SCA just loves and that we need more of, where you get in and you're so enthusiastic and you're just exploring everything and doing great things. And I know there's even more great things in your future. But I wondered, as a newish person, how could the SCA have supported you or helped you more, or how could it help you more now in the position that you are in, to keep doing what you're doing and learning even more? What kind of support do you think helped you, and maybe some support that you wish you had had?
Um, I think I've been pretty lucky because as I started in the SCA, I ran into some pretty fantastic people who really gave me a good solid start to things. They made it clear they were willing to help, they were willing to point me in the right direction for things. They also made it very clear, yes, try all the things, but maybe not all at once because we don't want you to get burned out.
Yeah.
My experience with it, though, has been really fantastic because we just had those volunteers that were willing to take a new person under their wing a little bit. For example, the outfit that's on my bio picture for this podcast, the blue dress with the poofy sleeves, actually came from Lady Althea. She took me into her home and we tried on some of her stuff, and I had understood it was going to be a loan, but she told me, hey, that doesn't fit me anymore and it fits you beautifully. Would you like to have it? And I've had other similar experiences where people have just been so welcoming and willing to teach. I've talked to Timothy of Sherwood a lot online, and he's so enthusiastic about archery. I definitely want to learn period fletching from him. Henry has been one of my staples in the SCA as well. He was a key to really getting me involved in rapier and has been so supportive in the archery community as well. I've just met such great people who were willing to be welcoming and open-minded and point me to whatever resources that I needed. That a lot of my experience with the people that I'm choosing to play with has been wonderful.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to maybe just show off one very quick thing.
Yeah,
because I
go
have
ahead.
them. I make my own arrows, and I make them quite pretty, so I want to take just a second to show you.
Yeah,
Please, we want to see them. I want to see what colors you choose.
So this was my first arrow that I made.
Oh, that is
Blue and purple, and it's hard to see probably in this lighting, but it fades from blue to a dark purple.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we can't see that too well, but
Yeah, that one's pretty dark, but it was my very first attempt. A little bit later, I did the purple arrow, and I tried some cresting on it as well. And it's a lighter purple to a darker purple, which might be a little bit more visible.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty subtle, especially on the screen. And then the one that I'm really proud of is I call these my heraldic arrows, because it's just blue. It's a plain blue and white fletching, but I hand painted my heraldry onto each of them.
wow.
So that's a flower and a treble clef, and I made a dozen of them.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Because my heraldry is that.
Nice. Nice.
So that took a lot of time, and that one I broke the knock on already, so we'll see what I can do about that. But I've had a lot of fun with it. So like I made this set for Henry, and it's just plain bare wood. I have to fix the fletching on this, but it was a really pretty red and yellow fletching. But the unique thing that I did with this one is he asked for this in very specific places. It's actually measured to help you measure your brace height. This is exactly 7 inches from string to here. So that means it acts as a ruler so that you can see if your string is the right length for your bow.
Oh, great.
Neat.
So those are a couple I made that I did want to take a second to show off because I'm actually really enjoying making arrows.
What else do you have in your show and tell section behind you?
Well, I've got my swords. Once again with my heraldry on it. I don't know if I can see it. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the flower there again, and then the treble clefs around the edge. So that's my dagger.
I just want to mention, and I could be wrong, but that's medieval treble clef, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm doing some research on that now. That's extremely cool. Yeah.
And then my sword. Once again, the flower here and the treble clefs. And then I wanted the closed hand because I'm a musician and I did not want swords hitting my fingers.
Ah,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
smart.
yeah,
But these were custom made for me by a fellow up in Edmonton, Alberta. His name is Sam, and he just does beautiful work. So I felt very lucky to meet him as well. And then I've got my 3 awards: my Award of Arms from Artemisia, my Golden Link from when I served as Exchequer, that's the service award for Avacol, and then when I won an archery shoot at Archer Stream.
Great.
that's awesome. That's
I might show this one because it is customized to me.
Oh,
It's got
that's
my
beautiful.
heraldry in there.
wow, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of my show and tell.
I love it. I wish more of our guests had a show and tell.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you shared all that with us.
Yeah. All right, ready for the last question?
I guess I'll have to be.
All right, what can the SCA do better?
Um, Being a volunteer group, I think it's hard to find the right balance sometimes between playing your own game and serving the community. I want to say that for newcomers, we really need to make sure that we are welcoming, that we can point them in the right direction to whatever resources they need. But at the same time, I've also had instances with some of my friends where they've been criticized for not paying attention to or ignoring a newcomer or such, when all they were doing was playing their own game and they didn't necessarily even realize that someone else might have wanted their attention. And so I think that balance between being focused on enjoying yourself and doing your game while still being inclusive to others is something we could continue to work on. Because it is a game, it's a hobby, it's a game that we play in our spare time. And sometimes people do just want to show up and relax. They don't want to be the teacher or the mentor. It's like, I'm just here to have fun. But if everyone does that, then we don't keep newcomers.
Right.
So I think finding the balance between that is something we could maybe work on doing better. And I do think that there are signs in some groups of that happening. I do see newcomer initiatives, and like I've seen some Zoom meetings and such that are aimed at newcomers. So I think that's all great. That's kind of the main thing that came to mind. I haven't been following it very much, but it seems like maybe communication with the SCA board could be better, because I know with the new archery peerage, there's been a lot of people who are not satisfied with the way communication has maybe happened, but I haven't had enough of my finger on the pulse to really comment intelligently on that topic.
Right. Right. I did take the Scallions poll. Don't forget to take the Scallion, the satire site.
Yeah.
They're
Is there a
doing
poll
their
there?
own poll. They're doing their own poll. Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out then, because I'd heard of them but didn't know what they were doing recently.
Yeah, they were done. They went on hiatus, and then all this kerfuffle happened, and they came back, and they were like, "Oh, we're not going to ignore this." So you don't like the poll here? Here's our poll. Take our poll, which they posted. They've had over 1,000 responses to their poll so far. So,
Yeah. But at the same time, I think it's an important initiative. I think archery and thrown weapons and siege, whatever they choose to put under that banner, is going to be a really important peerage and a step forward for the SCA.
I agree. I absolutely
Yeah,
agree.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being our guest. It has
Yeah,
been really wonderful talking with you tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I really enjoyed meeting you. I hope
Yeah.
we can meet in person someday.
Well, remember, Archer Stream, September 25th to 28th this year.
Yes,
In
yes.
Montana.
Yep, St. Regis, Montana.
All right, we have been talking with Muirenn Ingen McRath, and you have been watching Simply SCAdian, no title required, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Good night.
Night. Bye.